to please the palate of a panting public in desperate need of greatness and grandeur and all-around phenomenal, gleeful times and gratifyingly glorious grub. You see, when you really want and need Italian food, you have got to get to Columbo's. Columbo's Italian Steakhouse and Jazz Club, Colorado Boulevard, Eagle Rock. Yes, it's that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Yes, the world's greatest steaks, the very best catch from the 7 seas. Columbo's family Italian recipes and internationally acclaimed meatballs. Beckon your reappearance at the house of Yum Yum. Do dreams come true? Oh, yes, they do. Columbo's is open with reckless abandon to sate your insatiable senses. Columbo's, that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Columbo's, mangia bene.
Hi everybody, it's Peter Dills. If you've been following me here on the radio, you know I love those hidden restaurants, the unexpected gems. Recently, I discovered an unexpected gem in my beer aisle at the local supermarket. Sapporo beer, yes, the beer that made sushi famous. Also goes great with steaks, chops, and even pizza. So make it a Sapporo beer for your next tailgate party or backyard barbecue. Sapporo beer, where East meets West. Sapporo beer reminds you to drink responsibly.
Longo Lexus is California's premier Lexus dealer with amazing deals on over 800 new and pre-owned Lexus vehicles. Longo Lexus is the #1 Lexus dealer in the Western area since 1990. 30 years of great people, great products, great service. Visit us today at longolexus.com.
So there I am, stuck at home for what felt like an eternity. But you know what? I put that time to good use, like by cleaning my grill, sweeping my patio, and getting ready to finally get the old gang back together again for some summer barbecue fun. Because that's what the best hostesses do. They prepare. So for whatever summer throws at you this year, Smart & Final has you and all your amigos covered with the variety they need at the value you love. Get the best deals delivered right to you by shopping online at smartandfinal.com. Smart & Final. One trip and that's it.
All right, everybody, we're back from the break. And if you're watching live on Facebook, hello, how are you? It's Peter Dills. It is the Food Report right here on Go Country 105. We're here each and every Sunday morning from 8 o'clock until 9 a.m. Coming up after our show, the lovely Lori Allen playing country's greatest hits. All right, we've got a word. We've got a couple words today. A $50 gift card to our host this morning, the Canoe House in South Pasadena, home of those famous Mai Tais that I've been talking about for years. Champagne for Father. I'm going to say it one more time. Champagne for Father. Next time you hear that, and you email me, the chef at Peter at diningwithdills.com. Peter at diningwithdills.com. I have another email called thechefknows at yahoo.com. Don't get confused. Peter at diningwithdills.com. Email me when I say those 3 magic words, and you might just win $50 to the Canoe House here in South Pasadena. All right. We all know what's going on out there in the world, and I've been going to restaurants the last week or 10 days, maybe even 2 weeks now. And I've noticed a disparity to the restaurants, Monrovia, Pasadena, Newport, what have you. Some restaurants are making you sit outside. Some restaurants are making you sit in the patio. Some restaurants are allowing you to eat at the bar. Some restaurants are allowing you to be in the bar, but you have to sit in a seat. Bob Michero, who I've already given his accolades to of being 45 years in the business and vice president of San Antonio Winery, and more importantly, a great dad, is with me right now. And Bob has some of the answers, and I want you to listen closely because it all makes sense. It all makes sense, Bob.
How you doing, Peter?
I'm good. Good morning.
Good morning. And Turtle.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's think about restaurants. Let's think about a New York steak. I bet everybody out there can think of 15, 20 restaurants, and they all have a New York steak. But guess what? Each restaurant does it a little differently, even though it's called a New York steak.
But it's from New York, right?
Yeah, maybe originally the cut, yes, from a restaurant that created it. Having said that, the complexity of the Southern California market in the United States. We fall under, in Pasadena, something called the Public Health Reopening Protocol of retail. And this is designed to be consistent to all retail accounts. There's off-premise, there's on-premise. On-premise meaning restaurants. There's a new protocol that came out on May 29th, which is an update of the procedures and the protocol that all licensees that sell food and liquor and or beer and wine or all of that have to follow. The bottom line is the square footage of a restaurant and the nature of the restaurant. Is the bar service bigger than the food service? Or is the food service bigger than the bar service?
It would mostly be the food service is bigger than the bar service.
Normally, but it could be 60-40. It could be 80-20. Think about it. Well, that comes down to how do I service the consumer? If you're a 70% in square footage of bar to your business, as opposed to 30, you might have 2 or 3 bartenders.
Okay, let's throw out a couple names of restaurants out there, like Newport, the Red O, probably capacity 40 people to sit at the bar. Fleming's, places like Morton's, maybe half of that, maybe 20. Parkway Grill, maybe 10?
No, a lot bigger than that.
Well, but the bar itself, are you including
I'm talking about the
area?
bar. I'm only talking the bar, not the bar area.
Okay.
To the point is that a restaurateur has to approach it, how do I operate under the protocol? So there's a distancing protocol of 6 feet. We know that. So if you go into a restaurant, you'll see that every other table says reserved,
right,
or it's got a tape on it where no one can sit on.
Just like here in the Canoe House, we're here live in South Pasadena. I'm Peter Dills, that's Bob and Cheryl, it's Go Country. We're sitting in the deck here, and yeah, every other table says reserved.
Reserved. However, if one puts a plexiglass barrier between, let's say, the booths, you can use the booths. But if you don't have a plexiglass barrier, then obviously you've got to go every other booth. Same thing is true for the distance of the table, the traffic in the restaurant. So the physical dimension of a restaurant, if it seats 150 at one sitting versus a restaurant that seats 70, has something to do with how that restaurateur or those restaurateurs will appropriate the protocols that they have as guidelines to fall under.
Okay, you brought in the guidelines for the city that we live in, Pasadena. Restaurants in other cities, they're going to be similar but different as well, because you explained about the square footage and all of that stuff, but I've gone to restaurants in Monrovia. I don't think I'm going to mention the names of the restaurants, but a restaurant says everybody has to sit outside, go across the street, everybody has to wear a mask, but once you're inside, people are sitting in the area and also in the back of the restaurant or in the dining room. So I'm confused.
Right. So in relationship to that specific situation, once again, it comes down to the ownership and staffing correctly under the protocols, the service area. And so if a restaurant is more comfortable having people outside because they have the appropriate patio space, then inside, that's where they're going first. And also remember, this process is a moving target. It's changing. It is changing relative to what...
It's fluid. It's the magic word of my other magic word, it's fluid.
So it's relative to where the CDC on a national level and the protocols are, recommended to the states and the state protocol, then to the county protocols, down to the city protocols. A city can have greater protocols than the minimums of the LA County. But most of the counties are appropriating exactly what the state says they have to do, taking it to the level that if their health department heads say they need to do. And then the city can follow, in the case of Pasadena, LA County, or they can take it above that, but they can't take it below that. So bottom line is the restaurateur, does he have the money?
Yeah.
Feasibility, is he 25% of normal occupancy, 40% of normal occupancy relative to the square footage, the social distancing, and the protocols that they have to follow. Also, some restaurants just aren't ready.
Yeah, I was going to say some aren't ready. I was talking to Columbo's, Vic, who owns Columbo's. We're going to be there next Sunday morning, and he was saying that he has all of his servers bussing tables because, guess why? Because a lot of his employees say, we're not coming back to work. Why? We're getting $600 a week for unemployment. What's the use of coming back? To help you out?
Staffing is one of the variables. It's a very important variable for the restaurateur. I mean, think about it. It's not just a robot. It's a personality. It's a live person that we talk to, we interface with. Well, there's differences in people. And so part of the dilemma of a restaurateur is to have the staffing in place that they feel they need. The real philosophy of the restaurant, think how it's changed with this. Number one is that the safety of the employees have to be maintained.
Absolutely.
Number two, the safety of the consumer has to be maintained. Well, think about it. You've got a kitchen, and are you using the old menu you had, the same amount of entrees, the same amount of desserts, the
Probably
same amount?
Not.
Well, if you're only able to go 40% or 50% of occupancy of consumers, you're going to maintain 80 items on a menu?
Again, I haven't been to Orange County yet, but just what I've heard, we're Go Country 105, just what I've heard is, let's just say in June, middle of June, they said, you know what, we're letting you go back to 100% full occupancy. That's what I say, Bob. It ain't going to happen anyway.
Right.
So Newsom or Garcetti or whoever could actually say we're back to full occupancy, and it ain't going to happen anyway. I went to Islands this week. They had you check in. Do you have a reservation? No. I just want to have a Mai Tai at the bar. Sure like those Mai Tais, don't I, Turtle?
You do.
And I would say at 5 o'clock during the week, they were at 40% occupancy. I went online, looked at this survey, and again, it was just from a few weeks ago. It was actually dated June 3rd, Bob, and it said, after this whole thing is over, because it's not over. Just because we're allowing people to, it's just beginning COVID-19. But let's say when they decide that they say COVID-19 has been eliminated, according to this June 3rd study, it said that only 40% of the people are still going to go out, even though they say it's okay to go back out. 20% said no way. 20% said no way. So we have a fluid economic turmoil here in the United States with these restaurants, because you think about hospitality like hotels and airlines. If you hear anybody laughing in the background, that does prove that we're live at a restaurant. But anyway, between the hospitality business, the airlines, and the cruise ships, the hospitality in the restaurant business is twice as much. So twice as many people rely on jobs at restaurants than they do on the airlines and all that kind of stuff. So it just goes to show you that the restaurants itself, this business of the restaurants, needs your help.
So as an example as to why there's a difference, other than what I just said, think about a restaurant, a classic restaurant in the area, does great volume. We're not going to name it, but it's about a 65% food to anywhere between 35% or 40% in liquor. The regulations on the bar are